Hello everyone, this is me, Mr. Big T Anderson. Today we are doing a reading from the Flash fandom called Coffee and the Speed Force Don't Mix. This is by WolfKomoki. Now for those who are new here, I only read fan fictions. I will not read my own fan fiction on this channel. So I do write them. I just don't, you know, I don't write them to post on this channel because I don't think my writing is good enough at this point. The artist conundrum, if you want to call it that. In this case, I'm reading other fan fiction that I think does something well and hopefully give it a little bit more spotlight. So, this is Coffee and the Speed Force Don't Mix. You know, reading's going to be fun when stuff like that happens. In any case, we're going to roll with it. Why? Because we can. Here is the story. Coffee and the Speed Force Don't Mix. It occurs to Barry that it's been 9 months since his last cup of coffee. Barry had practically lived on coffee when he was in college. All-nighters aren't fun, not by a long shot. Barry just drinks it now for the taste, since he's not in college, and boy did he need the taste of a good cup of coffee right now. He decides to race over to Jitters. It was the best coffee shop in Central City, so he was told anyway. When he gets there, Barry orders a strong vanilla coffee to drink, and that's when he sits on one of the tables waiting for it. After 20 minutes, they place his coffee on the register, and that's when he walks up there paying for the drink as he sits in a chair with his coffee. Blowing on the liquid, Barry slowly drinks, and that's when he feels his hands start to vibrate against the cup. Panicking, he tries to move, but before he got the chance, his entire body started vibrating, and he falls through the chair. His body was still vibrating as he falls through the floor, and that's when the customers start screaming. When Barry falls through the floor, he lands against some grass, and that's when his body stops vibrating. For now. While he had the chance, Barry gets up, and that's when he starts running to Star Labs. As he runs, his body starts vibrating again, and that's when he collapses again. When Barry collapsed, his phone falls out of his pocket, landing on the grass. And when it lands, it calls Joe. Joe had just walked into the precinct when he receives a call from Barry. Grabbing his phone, he answers it. "Hello?" he asked, waiting for Barry to speak. It was then that he listens to the sound coming from the phone. Joe could hear a warbling noise, and it was then that he realizes that he was hearing a vibration. "Barry, can you hear me?" he calls, starting to worry. Barry couldn't get his body to stop vibrating now, and he couldn't move. "Barry." Joe calls again. Still Barry didn't answer, and that's when he decides to track Barry's phone. When Joe finds Barry, he was just outside of Jitters. He walks to the location, and that's when he finds Barry. His entire body was vibrating against the grass. Joe tries to grab him by the shoulder, but he couldn't. His hand phased right through, and that's when Joe begins to panic. How the hell do I stop this from happening, he wonders. And that's when he decides to speak to him. "Barry, Barry, can you hear me?" Joe calls. Joe's voice was hollow against Barry's ears as his body still won't stop vibrating. "Barry, it's me. It's Joe, son." Joe calls louder this time. Still, Barry's body continues to vibrate. "Barry, Barry, it's okay, son. I'm here." Joe calls, wrapping his jacket around Barry's vibrating body. When Barry feels the jacket against his skin, his body stops for now. "Let's get you to Star Labs, okay?" Joe tells Barry, and that's when they go racing into Star Labs. When they make it there, his body started again, and that's when he falls onto the floor. Dr. Wells, help!" Cisco shrieks, running over to Barry. Caitlin tries to get Barry up from the floor, but her hands phased right through his body. "Put his suit on him. It should stop him from vibrating," Wells shrieks, and that's when Cisco starts running to Barry's suit. Eventually he manages to get the suit on, and that's when Barry finally stops vibrating. Now that he had stopped, Caitlin placed him on one of the cots, and that's when she hooks him up to the machines. "Huh?" she muttered, staring at the readings. "What?" Joe asks. "He had caffeine before coming here." "Okay, but why would that make his entire body start vibrating?" Joe asked, confused. "Maybe the caffeine confused his powers?" Cisco suggested. You know, that does actually make sense. Caffeine is a stimulant, so the stimulant in Barry's brain, caffeine, caused the speed force in his system to misfire, thus causing his entire body to become out of sync. Yes. How do we get him to stop? Well, we can emit a low-frequency delta wave in Barry's brain. Hopefully that'll get his senses to stop misfiring, Caitlin suggested, and that's when they give it a try. They place a frequency generator helmet on Barry's head after removing him from the suit and changed him into some pajamas instead. Slowly, Cisco turns on the helmet, controlling the frequency with instructions from Caitlin on what would be safe for Barry. After about an hour of listening to the frequency, Barry's brain stopped misfiring, and his body stopped vibrating. Finally, Joe sighs with relief, and that's when Caitlin removes the helmet. Slowly, Barry opened his eyes to see Cisco looking back at him. "Oh man, you scared the hell out of us," Cisco tells him, gently patting his shoulder. "How'd I get here? The last thing I remember is drinking coffee at Jitters," Barry asked, confused. "Well, Barry, when you drink that coffee, that stimulant, the caffeine, caused the speed force in your system to misfire and your brain just couldn't keep up," she explained. "Okay, but how did I get here?" "You don't remember?" "No, Joe, I don't." "You called me, and I heard you vibrating into the phone. I couldn't get you to reply, so I tracked it. Found you vibrating against the grass outside of Jitters. Had to wrap my jacket around you, just so you could stop temporarily, and braced you here. I guess you were pretty out of it." "Guess I get to switch to decaf," Barry muttered. And that was Coffee and the Speed Force Don't Mix. And now this was by WolfKomoki. Links are down below. If you want to give love to the author, do it that way. If you think my reading didn't suck, which I will have to say, this one was a bit of a rough one despite the size. Just because for some reason I was having an off day when I recorded, so yeah. In any case, I hopefully did it justice, and I hope you all enjoy it, and I'll see y'all next time. Ta-ta.